Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Roternut44. And we're definitely not using this take. Okay, yeah, we're using this take. What's going on, guys? Roternut44 here, back at you again with another scenery tutorial. This time we're jumping off of the Microsoft Flight Simulator MS-FS 2020 bandwagon and jumping back to the good old FSX and Prepared. So this episode is dedicated to the question, how do I create an island in FSX? This is a long time thread that's been over FS Developer. I have also seen it asked in a bunch of different places. People want to create their own island, in the middle of nowhere, or maybe they even want to modify an existing island. Well, we're going to cover both of that in this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get SBuilderX open. This particular file that I have open right now is my Solomon Islands scenery. So this is one of the sections of Vector. As we can see here, it's got a blue background, some white cutout areas. The blue background is sea level water. And the white backgrounds, or the white cutout areas, are obviously where that water has been cut out and excluded. So land will show through here, as well as a digital elevation model if one exists. So let's zoom in on one of these islands here. I'm working in SBuilderX 3.15, which is the latest version of SBuilderX. You can also get copies of 3.14, and I believe there's still copies of 3.13 available, but I would go no lower than 3.14. So in SBuilderX 3.14 and 3.15, you can hit the F1 key, which will start loading in aerial imagery into the background. Now, let's see here. Scroll in a little bit. Take a look at the island. Okay, so we are currently on Google Maps. Okay, so Google API 3 satellite. Let's go ahead and go up. So while I'm in here, there's typically 3 different servers, tile servers that I bump between when I'm working on a project. And it just depends on if there's imagery available in the area I'm working on. So those 3 things are ArcGIS imagery, as well as what I just had, Google API 3 satellite. Google satellite in the list no longer works. And then down here at the bottom, virtual Earth satellite, which is Bing imagery. So in this particular case, I'm almost betting that there's ArcGIS imagery available for this island. It does load a little slower than the other tile servers, but there we go, it loads in. And one important thing to note about ArcGIS is it's only good to zoom level 16, which I believe is about that's about 1.2 meters a pixel, if I remember right. Since we can only zoom in the level 16, I'll let it load in the tiles here. We'll try to go to 17. We'll see if it loads in anymore, but it'll probably be a white screen. Yep, map data not yet available. So obviously, if we need to get real close in and personal with this island, we're not going to be able to do that at zoom level 16. Best thing we can do here is kind of center it up on our screen, go to File, hit Add Map from Background. Bring that back over here in the view. We'll have it set at zoom level 16 here on the right hand side, because that's as high as we can go. And we'll just take and we'll draw a square approximately over that. Hit OK. And that puts a background image in. So now, even though it's lower resolution, we can zoom in, we can see what we're doing. And one important thing I want to note about the tile servers on SBuilderX. If you zoom in too fast while the tiles are loading, that very often causes a crash in SBuilderX. So do it one level at a time, let your tiles load in. Do another level, let those tiles load in. Obviously I just did it backwards, but you'd be zooming in that case. Another way to make SBuilderX crash with the tile server on in the background is, let's say we have imagery at zoom level 18 here, and we're just going around tracing it out, panning. Let's say we get the panning too fast, or we want to go over to this side of the island, so we're panning over really fast. Well, same deal. If it's loading in tiles and you're trying to pan like that, it's got to play catch up, and it cannot load in the tiles fast enough, so it ends up crashing on you. So there you go. 2 things you should avoid at all costs in SBuilderX. Anyways, Back on topic from that, we got our aerial imagery in the background here. We got our old island outline and shoreline, which is the blue line. We're going to go ahead and delete it because we do not need either of those items. Obviously, the water transparency I have already lowered. So let's say transparency 76. I have lowered that. And by the way, this whole square here, you need to have that inside of a QMID grid. So it needs to be split to that QMID grid. So in particular on this one, I use level or QMID 7 or QMID 7, however you want to pronounce it. I have used as low as QMID 12. 7, I believe, is what the default value is for vector and default FSX and prepared, whereas I think typically add-on vector data uses a little bit higher of a QMID. But in this case, so far, level detail 7, or I keep saying level detail, QMID 7 has been working pretty well for me. If anything, I would probably split it up to like level 8. That way it's in 4 quadrants instead. Because for whatever reason in SBuilderX, if your project file gets around that 10 megabyte mark, I have had it kind of screw up and become corrupt before. So try not to go over that. 9 megabytes is about the range you want. If you're approaching on that, maybe try splitting that up a little bit more. I know I'm kind of sidestepping here a little bit, but I should also probably explain how to put this polygon in here. So let's just say we're going with QMID 8. I know I'm using 7, but we're going to use 8 for this example. We put using our polygon tool up here at the top, we're going to put a square in here. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't really matter. Right click on it at the border, and we're going to say fill to QMID 8. And that's going to fill to that grid square, which if I turn this back to 7, as you can see, my water square perfectly goes to the border of that QMID 7. To put water in this, we're just going to go into, or right click on it, hit properties, stay on vector polys here at the top, which it should default to, go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to say legacy, hydro default perennial. And as we can go in the general tab here, constant altitude is currently set at 0. This does flatten the water, so it'll be a constant altitude of 0 feet sea level, or in this case it's 0 meters technically. All these values with elevations are in meters in SBuilderX. So 0, we can leave that as the value. Go ahead and hit OK. That will make that in the water. And then, like I said, we can just go decrease the transparency so we can see the background. So that is how we get that water square. Now, jumping back over, we're going to go ahead and delete that because I do not need that. Now, hold up there 2 weeks ago, Roternut. I noticed something. You didn't explain how to exclude the water. So here's editing, Roternut, nearly 2 weeks later, going back to fix your mistake. So what I should have done is, while also explaining how to make the water inside the QMID grids here, I should have also told you that you should exclude the water first, which I never covered. So same thing as making water. You're just going to go in, draw a square, go in the properties. There's several different options you can use to exclude the water. Now, obviously, to add water back in and to add land back in, we first need to exclude the default water in the simulator. So to do that, we need to scroll all the way down, actually not that far down, just to the bottom here, and say exclude all water polygons is one way to do it. That's just the basic way to do it. However, the better way to do it and the best way to do it is to say exclude all terrain items. Now, what this is going to do is it's not just going to exclude water, it's going to exclude everything here. So it's going to exclude shorelines, streams, roads, railways, utility lines, aka power lines. It's going to exclude road traffic, airports, boundaries, so the grass aprons within that. It's also going to exclude your water polys, which is what we're targeting here, as well as the water polygons displayed on GPS. Parks, polygons, everything within all these excludes right here. That is the best way to do it. Now, the only downside to that is you're going to delete more than just the water. Now, if you only want to delete the water, you need to create one polygon that is exclude all water polygons. And then once you fill in, so we'll go ahead and do it here, just say exclude all water polygons. We're going to say fill to, create another polygon over top of that, right click, properties, say water polygons GPS, right click, fill to, then we're going to create another polygon and we'll say properties, exclude all shorelines, same thing, fill to. Now we have 3 exclude polys here, which are excluding our water on both inside the simulator and what's displayed on GPS, as well as shorelines. Now, obviously, this is not going to exclude anything else, so if you are only targeting, excluding the water and the shorelines for the island, that's all you need to do. If you're doing everything from roads to, airport backgrounds, everything within that area that you're excluding, then it's preferred to use the other method with the exclude all terrain. That way it's, one poly, and it's a lot simpler for the sim to read as opposed to having to read 3 different polys. But yeah, the choice is yours. Glad that's cleared up, and back to the main lesson. Jumping back over to what we were saying with the island, we're going to scroll back in here. So we already got our water in place, we got our imagery in place. Now it's time to start tracing out the new island, or actually making the island. So we're going to zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to go counterclockwise because I feel like going counterclockwise today. With the polygon tool selected here at the top, left click once at your starting position, and you're just going to do that around the entire perimeter of the island. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to speed this part up so that you do not have to sit through it. So be back in 1 moment. Alright, and just like that, we have traced around the entire perimeter of the island, plus one little mistake over here, which is okay, because this is going to probably happen at some point to you. If you get too close to the edge of the screen as you're clicking along here, sometimes it'll just go ahead and jump over a spot. So that's okay. Sometimes you'll just click over and leave a little point where you don't want it. But in this case, we can either go to our polygon tool and click on that point and delete it, or in this case, because I got a little bit of a hump here still, I'm just going to take this point, left click, drag in, and we'll just move it into place there. There we go. And before we hit save, let's just go ahead and get rid of this background, because for whatever reason sometimes backgrounds get a little screwy with the save file as well. And Control S, saved. Now we can put our imagery back in with F1, and we can see that our island is completely traced out. Hit F1 again so we lose our imagery, and zoom in. I'm going to go ahead and click on the border of that polygon, right click, hit set as whole, zoom out until we can see our full water polygon, go to the border, left click, we can zoom back in, and now we can see that our polygon that we just drew out is now white, which means it has created a hole in this water. So now if we were to build this into a BGL and we went into the flight sim, we would see that there is now land where this island is. Alright, so that is how we create an island in SBuilderX. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so now you may ask, okay, so what if you fill one of these squares, or you have, okay, let's say we're going to create 2 different squares. So these would be water. I'm not going to fill them with water. We'll say fill to QMID 7, fill, and let's say we have an island. I'm just going to ballpark this here. Okay, let's just pretend that's a very crudely made, weirdly shaped large island. And we're, okay, the point is, it's overlapped. You can see the line running down the center of it, right? So Sim, how it wants vector data and most default or data handed to it is it wants it split at these QMID lines, so the data cannot overlap. So we need to split this island. We cannot leave this island whole. So best thing we can do here, and I will also cover something else that I realized I just missed on the other island. We'll go ahead and say right click on it, make line. So that's for your shoreline. And then we'll go and say line tool, left click on the line, right click, and say slice to QMID 7. We're going to go to the polygon tool. We're going to do the same thing. Left click on the polygon, right click, and say slice to QMID 7. Now if I have that selected and I left click and drag on the polygon, we'll see that it freely moves away, and we can do the exact same with this line here. So now that has been properly split upon that line. So yeah, if you have an island that overlaps two different QMID squares, that's what you're going to do. Just trace out your island like normal and then put your shoreline on. I like to put the shoreline on first before splitting. Go ahead and split both of them, and then we can just say, let's go ahead and back up here. Shoot. Well, I screwed up, but that's okay. We can do it to the other half. We don't need both hats for this demonstration. It does help to have the right tool selected though. Polygon tool, right click on it, hit set as whole, zoom out obviously until we get to the edge of our water polygon again, and click on it. And obviously we would do that for the other side, but I have really screwed up and deleted all my save states, or my backup save states, so I cannot undo what I just did. Anyways, we'll jump back down to the other island talking about the shoreline here. Get rid of that because I do not need that example anymore. Find where did our island go? There it is. Go ahead and say polygon tool, right click on the edge, make line, get our line tool selected here at the top. Go ahead and right click on that line, say properties. We're going to scroll down here. For the Solomon Islands, I go down about halfway, and it's shoreline, generic ocean is what I like to use. In some cases you will have to reverse the shoreline. In some cases you will not. Typically for islands you want to hit reverse, and for like lakes or ponds within the islands you would not hit reverse. I believe I'm saying that right, but go ahead and play around with it. You know, once you get it loaded into the simulator, you can go ahead and check it, and obviously if it's wrong, just go back and hit reverse again and fix it. I also like to hit and put a width on here. I do a width of 10 just so it gives it a little bit of definition inside of SBuilderX. This does not affect the width of the shoreline in Flight Sim, so don't worry about that. It is just for visual aesthetic in SBuilderX. Alright, so we created an island. We got a shoreline around our island. And we can go ahead and say File, Save, Select. I think I deleted everything. Yep. Select All or Control A so that we have everything selected. Go up to the arrow, compile BGL, have terrain vector selected. Copy BGL files to BGL folder, and we're going to hit compile. Give it a second, it's going to do its thing. Also, to set your output path for the compiled files, you're going to right click anywhere on the screen, go to properties, and it'll be right here, BGL folder. Just go select whatever. I'm going to go to my desktop. Also, project name up here, whatever you want your BGL to be called, that's what you're going to put in this box right here. So no need to put underscores or dashes or anything, just put spaces, as spaces automatically counted as an underscore and will be compiled with underscores once that file is saved. Alright, over to the desktop, we got our BGL sitting here. I went ahead and got my project folder open with Solomon Islands, and we're going to go ahead and go into the terrain folder, Scenery, take this, right click on it, I'm going to cut it from the desktop and paste it. And here, whoops, one mistake, cut it back to the desktop real quick. because I have mine named a little bit differently, it's going to automatically append the CVX underscore to the beginning of whatever you choose your file name to be. Just because that's the abbreviation for this type of file. You do not have to leave that there under any circumstances. You can change the name to whatever you want. As you can see, I have the CVX in a different place. Just that's how I like to name these files. So now that we fixed that, we can go back, cut it, paste it in here. I already have that file in there, so we're going to replace it. And now it's in here. And the next time we open up FSX or prepared, assuming that we already have this scenery attached to our scenery library, that file will reload and the new changes will be in place. So there you have it. That's how you create an island in SBuilderX. As always, if you guys have any questions for me, put them down in the description below. I'll try to get back to them as quick as I can. Obviously, that time's going to vary a little bit. I'm not on here all the time, so I will have to get back to them as I jump back on. And in typical YouTube fashion, it does not notify me when there's a new comment posted on my videos. So if any of you guys have left me comments and it's been a year since I've replied, that's probably why. But I do try to get on there and comment back when I actually know how to help you or know how to answer it. If for whatever reason I cannot answer it, go ask an FS developer. If I don't get back to you within a day or two, go ask an FS developer. It's a great community, and usually they'll have an answer for you. So, as always, guys, have a great rest of your day, evening, wherever, and RotorNut44 out.